Hello and welcome to episode 0 of Observing the Earth. My name is Jesse Rouse. I'm with the Department of Geology and Geography at University of North Carolina at Pembroke. Now, the series that'll be stretching out every other week over the next who knows how long will focus on, well, just as the name suggests, observing the Earth. At the beginning, we're really going to focus on how we do this technically in terms of the sensors and modules that NASA, European Space Agency, and others have put out into orbit around the planet, how we have sensors that are being attached to planes and helicopters to observe from closer within the atmosphere, and then how people observe from the ground as well. So over time, we'll find a way to coalesce these different technologies, but at the beginning, we're going to kind of look at them independently. Now, through this, we're going to be looking at these aspects from a scientific point of view, from a social science point of view, even a humanities point of view, to try to figure out how the sensors work, how people are using them, and how they can support everyday life and society. Now, in this, we're going to have 3 main types of episodes. The first type is going to be that very scientific type, very technical type. It won't be every episode. It'll be just every 2, 3, 4 episodes we'll do one of these where we're looking at a specific type of sensor that either a public entity like NASA or ESA or a commercial interest like GOI or others have put into space or are mounting onto helicopters and airplanes or otherwise, and how these sensors are capturing information and what kind of information they're capturing. The second type of episode that we're going to be looking at is more of that social aspect. What do we do once we have this data? Well, we interpret it. But how do we interpret it? What is it interpreted for? And what are the social impacts of that interpretation of data? So that's going to be our second type of information. This will be kind of a case study type of description of some of these sensor data sets. And the third one is really looking at it from more of a news perspective. How is it that we can use these to address many of the issues that we see day to day in the news? How is this information helping us to understand the world, understand the events in the world as they're taking place? Examples, of course, fairly recently, the tsunami and earthquake in Japan. We've seen a lot of imagery coming out of that. Images from the Middle East, as we have a lot of different activities in terms of protests and military activities going on in the Middle East. Even looking at more broad environmental issues like climate change issues such as deforestation, expansion of urban areas, all of these different things that are in the news day to day. How do we use these images from satellites, data sets from aircraft, and things that we capture on the ground to better understand this? Now, all of these samples that we've been talking about really look at this idea that was put forward back in the late 90s of a digital Earth. Not just the imagery that we're capturing, but how we make new imagery from this imagery, how we create new data sets, how we're informed by this imagery that has been captured. And it's been going on for a very long time, but really over the last 5 years, it's exploded into the commercial space, into your living room with things like Google Earth, with things like Bing Maps, things that we're using day in, day out, our GPS unit, our images on the front page of the newspaper that really help us understand what's going on in the world and how we can actually interact with the world, how we navigate the world. All these different technologies kind of come together. Now, this particular series is going to be, at least for the first 10 episodes, like I was suggesting, supported by the North Carolina Space Grant Consortium. Thanks to them, had a little bit of money to be able to put these first few episodes together. And of course, again, really planning to roll this well beyond those first 10 episodes. But that's why we're going to have that very clear focus on especially those first 2 type of episodes. What kind of sensors are out there? What do they do? How do they do it? And case studies on what we can do with the information. So that's really going to be those first 10 episodes. So that's really about it for this particular first episode, 0 episode, prelude to the series itself, just to give you kind of an idea, and of course to give me a chance to get my feet wet once again in front of the camera. Haven't been there for a while. Be sure to come back April 8th for episode 1. being released on, imagine that, Earth Observation Day, so that we can begin to discuss what is Earth observation, what's remote sensing, and how does it rely on, or how is it kind of the bolstering point for Earth observation, and where are we going to go with this over the next few months. So after that, after the April 8th episode, we'll be back every couple of weeks with a new episode, and we'll see how it goes.